Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute little butterfly. It is what I consider a no-sew body pattern, which means we're going to start by making his little arms, then we're going to make his legs, then we're going to move on to the top of his head, work our way down, attach the arms as we go, do a little bit of the body, add his eyes, stuff his head, finish up most of his body, add his legs, finish the rest of his body, stuff and close. And then we will have to embroider on a little mouth, some little eye accents, attach his antennas, and sew on his wings. And if you prefer to use the plush yarn, I've made a sample of that following this exact same pattern, but I did change up his antennas a little bit, and I will include them after I finish showing you how to make the little one's antennas. For this video, I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. And for the plush version, I used a number 6 blanket yarn, a 5 millimeter hook, an 18 millimeter clear safety eyes, and then I just used a little felt pen and colored in the back so that they were all black. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. Alright, so we are going to start with the arms, and you can begin your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be doing a knot with a loop on the end, so what I do is I fold my yarn over in half, then I'm going to pinch that up at the top. I'm going to wrap it around my finger, down and through to make my knot. Then I'm going to pinch that little loop, and I'm just going to slide that knot up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up and chain 1. And that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into that loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then pull on that tail to close that hole if you need to. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 3, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 4, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 5, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 6, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 7, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 8, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're finished our arm, so we can take our hook out, pull our stitch marker out. Then we're going to grab just a little bit of stuffing. We don't need very much. And we're going to just put it down into the very bottom of the arm. If you need help, scissors are a great way to get it down to the bottom. And we're going to pack it in the very bottom of the hand part, nice and tight. And then we're going to lightly put a little bit back up the arm. So just enough to hold its shape, but you don't want so much in it so that it's going to stick straight out when you add it. So you want it to be a little bendy, but firm on the end. And once you're happy with that, we're going to stick our hook back in. You're going to go into the very next stitch, and then you're going to go into the very last stitch. And we're going to do 3 single crochets across. Make sure you're going through both sides. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to tie that off, and even though we're not sewing these on, after we attach them at the end, I do something with these strings, so you're going to want to leave yourself a little bit of a tail for that. Alright, so if you've just finished your first arm, I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second arm, and then if you're done your second arm, just keep on watching and we'll move on to the next part. Alright, now we're going to start on the legs, and again, you can begin your rounds any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then pull that tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that pattern all the way around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2, and 3. And then repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 4, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 5, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 10. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3 single crochets, 4 single crochets, and a decrease, 4, 5, and then repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease, 4, 10. Row 6, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 7, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 8, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, we can take our hook out now because we're going to add some stuffing. I'm also going to take my stitch marker out. And again, we don't need a lot of stuffing in here. We just want to make sure that we have it stuffed right to the bottom. And then maybe about the last row or two, you don't want to have anything in there. So if you can see in there, I'm probably stuffed to here. Kind of a medium stuff, so I can still squish it and it moves. But we want to make sure that when we attach it, that it's going to be kind of more of in a teardrop shape, so that when he's sitting down, his little belly is not going to make him want to flop over because our legs are stuffed too tight. So when you're happy with your amount of stuffing, we're going to put our hook back in, and just like we did the arms, you're going to go into that next stitch, then you're going to go into the last stitch, and then we're going to do 4 single crochets across. Make sure you're going through both sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then tie off. Leave a little bit of a tail. I don't do much with these ends, but we will be tying them on the inside. So if you've just finished your first leg, again, I will be putting a screenshot with a timestamp over in the next frame, so you can go back and do your second leg. And if you're done your second leg, just keep on watching and we'll move on to the next part. All right, now we're going to start the top of the head. And again, you can begin any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then pull on that tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and then repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, increase, 2 and 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5. And repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30. Row 6, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, increase, 35 and 36. Row 7, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 8, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 9, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 10, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 11, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Row 12, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 13, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease, 4, 5, and then repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, 9, decrease, 4, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, decrease, 4, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, decrease, for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, decrease for 30. Row 14, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, decrease, 4, 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, decrease, for 8, 9, 10, 11, decrease, for 12, 13, 14, 15, decrease, for 16, 17, 18, 19, decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and our last decrease for 24. Row 15, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, decrease, for 3, 4, 5, decrease, for 6, 7, 8, decrease, for 9, 10, 11, decrease, for 12, 13, 14, decrease, for 15, 16, 17, and our last decrease for 18. Okay, we're going to add the arms and legs now, so grab those, get those ready, and I'm just going to change my camera view so hopefully we can see a little bit better. Okay, so for row 16, we are going to start off with 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. You're going to grab your first arm, and remembering that where your stitch marker is, that's your back, this is your front. You want to have your strings of your arm facing towards the front. And we are going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and through the next stitch of the head. So that's 1 through the arm, through the next stitch of the head. That's 2 through the arm, through the next stitch of the head. That's 3. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets across, and make sure you're going over into that next stitch and not the one you were just in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Grab your other arm. Again, remembering this is the front, this is your back where the stitch marker was. So your strings are facing the front. 3 single crochets through the arm and through the next stitch of the head. So that's 1 through the arm, through the next stitch of the head. That's 2 through the arm and through the next stitch of the head. That's 3. And then you should have 3 single crochets to finish off the row for a total of 18. 1, 2, 3. Row 17, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase, 3, and 4. And then repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7, and 8. And as you're going around, when you get to these strings, make sure you leave them on the outside because that's where we will need them for later. All right, let's continue on. 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, increase, 23, and 24. Row 18, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 19, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, increase, 4, and 5. And repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9, and 10. 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30. Row 20, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. All right, let's put our eyes in now. Grab those and get those ready. So the first thing you're going to do is flatten out your guy's little head. We're going to find the row that you're going to place your eyes in. So what you want to do is find your first starting loop, row 1. And we're going to count down to between rows 8 and 9. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right here between rows 8 and 9. Now you're just finding the row, and then now we'll find center. So what I like to do is I grab my little knots where my arms were attached, and I just count over the stitches. Where's this one? So right about there's the center of my body, and then I find the center of my head. I just kind of see, so I'm really close. It's this stitch or this stitch. So I'm going to try this one. And if you're happy that you're at center, grab one of your eyes. And I'm in a hole, not a stitch. You're going to start at your pin, and you're going to count over 4 holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that 4th hole. Same thing on the other side. Start at your pin and go over 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that 4th hole. Just have a look. And again, I kind of use my arms to make sure they're about the same spot. And then if you're happy with that, we'll put the backs on. What you're going to do is put your thumb on the eye and push that post up gently through the neck so you have nice, easy access to put your back on. Squeeze that together. I'm going to lose this eye here. There. Put your thumb on the other eye, push that up nice and gently through the neck. Grab your back, attach that, give it a good squeeze. And we might add a little bit of stuffing now. So grab your stuffing. And we'll start adding it into the very top of the head. So there's 2 things I like to do. One is hold around the neck when I add it, so that I'm not stretching those neck stitches. And then the other thing I like to do is use the curve of the palm of my hand to kind of keep the shape, a round shape, because we're going to stuff this fairly firmly, because I like to shape it, bring the eyes together a little bit, and sometimes bring the face down to make a little bit of a nose kind of shape. So just keep going around everywhere you feel kind of a space. Stuff a little stuffing in there. So I'm just kind of spinning it and feeling for spaces around the neck now. So I think I'm good here, a little bit here. So I'm just kind of going like this. Most of the success in amigurumi, if there's not a lot of shaping with stitches, is your stuffing. So you want to make sure you do a nice job with stuffing. So that is fairly firm, but it's not so full that you can see these little stitches separating. You don't want to see your stuffing underneath. All right, I think that's good enough for me. So let's get our hook back in. And for row 21, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 22, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, whoopsie, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 23, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 24, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and a decrease, 4, 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, decrease, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, decrease, 4, 12, 13, 14, 15, decrease, 4, 16, 17, 18, 19, decrease, 4, 20, 21, 22, 23, decrease for 24. All right, our next row, we are going to do our legs. So grab those, get those ready. And before we start, if you are left-handed, you may be doing this row backwards, so I'll make sure to leave the pattern up at the top so you can follow it in reverse. So for row 25, we are going to start off with 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that should bring you right in between the middle of your arm. If you're not centered in the middle of your arm here, add or subtract a stitch. Just remember when you get to this side that you have to do the opposite. If you added one, subtract one. If you subtracted one, add one. All right, grab your first leg, and it doesn't really matter which way the strings go, but make sure both go the same way. So if you're starting this way like me, both your strings will point that way. And we are going to do 4 single crochets through the leg and through the body. So that's 1 through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 2 through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 3 through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 4. Then you're going to flip that leg tail to the inside, and now you are going to do 3 single crochets across. Make sure you're in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, Then you're going to grab your next leg, and again, have your strings pointing whatever way your last one did. So my last ones went this way, so I'm making sure this one goes this way. And we're going to do 4 single crochets through the leg and through the next stitch of the body. So that's 1 through the leg, through the next stitch of the body. That's 2 through the leg, through the next stitch of the body. That's 3 through the leg, through the next stitch of the body. That's 4. And then remember to put that other leg's tail to the other side. And then you should have 5 single crochets left, unless you had to adjust on this side to be in the center, for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll just take that hook out and we'll tie these little leg tails together. Now when you're tying these, you want to make sure they're loosely against the inside of your body. If you tie them too tight, the legs are going to smush together like that, and you just won't be happy. It just won't work out nice. So tie loosely at first, and then slowly a little bit tighter till it doesn't slide anymore. And then once you are happy with that knot, you can cut off your ends. Don't forget, if your ends are long enough, hang on to them, because we can use this matching color for like the face shaping. I think that's all we're doing on this one, face shaping. But now you can start stuffing now as you go if you want. If you haven't already been, I'm going to do another row or 2 before I add stuffing, just so it's easier for me to keep it centered in the camera. All right, row 26, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1, 2, and a decrease, 4, 3, and repeat that around. 4, 5, decrease, 4, 6, 7, 8, decrease, 4, 9, 10, 11, decrease, 4, 12, 13, 14, decrease, 4, 15, 16, 17, decrease, 4, 18. Let's just see how much room I got there. Maybe I'll add some stuffing now. So when you stuff your body, if you haven't already, what you want to do is you want to just kind of butt it up to your stuffing in your neck. So your stuffing's right here. We're not pushing it in the head anymore. We're just butting it up right to the neck. And as you're stuffing, what I like to do is kind of make a well with my fingers and go like this, and I kind of push out the butt so that it's more of an oval shape, and that will help him sit. And then if I need to add more stuffing later on, we're only having 2 rows left, but if you do need to, then you kind of have a little hole there that you can shove it up and not worry about getting all the way around. And also keep in mind, we want this to be flat and not curved so that he sits. So I'm going to add a little bit more, I think. Doesn't have to be quite as firm. Actually, maybe I'll wait and I'll just throw a little bit in at the end. Okay. Get my hook back in. And for row 27, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1 and a decrease for 2. And repeat that around. 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6. So I'm catching my stuffing here. Don't want that. So I'm still on 6. 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, and a decrease for 12. Now, if you need to add more stuffing and you can't do it when you're down to 6, do that now. I'm going to go right to 6 now. So for row 28, we are just going to do 6 decreases all the way around. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, 6 decreases. Then you're just going to tie off in the next stitch and leave yourself a bit of a tail for closing. And I am going to add a little bit of stuffing in there yet. And this is why making that little well helps, because I can just stuff it straight down now. Just to kind of make this a little firmer on the bottom. All right, now we're going to close up the bottom. Let's take out our stitch marker if you haven't already. We'll thread on our closing tail. And now what you're going to do is you are going to go in and out of that top loop on the last row you just finished. All the way around. If you're using plush yarn, what I like to do is do 2 or 3 stitches, leave a bit of a loop, and then 2 or 3 stitches again. Then you just pull each loop as you go around. So once you're all the way around, you're going to close that up nice and tight. And then find a stitch really close to where you just were. Tie a knot or 2. I just tie 1. But my things are basically just sitting on a shelf here. Tie 2 if you're more comfortable with that. And then you're just going to go down in the center and hide that knot a bit by pulling your yarn and then cut that off. And now we're going to do the arm strings. It doesn't matter which one you do first, they're both the same. So thread on one of your ends. And what you're going to do is find that knot, your tie-off knot, and the last stitch that yarn was for attaching. And you're just going to go right into that hole beside it and out the back in the middle center of the neck somewhere. Then you're going to do the same thing for the other arm string. Thread that on, find your knot, and the last stitch you went in when you attached your arm, go in that hole and come out the same spot that your other arm string came out. Now we're going to tie those one time. Keep track of what string goes to what arm. What I like to do is I just wrap it around the head one time, turn them over. Then you're going to pull on these two strings, and these knots in your arms are going to go to the inside, and his arms are going to come forward a little bit. So give him a nice pull. If you're using plush yarn, I would recommend using another type of thread. So, and also remember, his arms will relax a little bit, so I tend to over pull so that they're a little more forward than I want them, and then they will kind of come down a bit. So we'll thread that back on. Put it through the same hole you came out, and then hide them on the inside somewhere, wherever is easiest for you. And now we're going to shape the face, and I'm just using a scrap from my tie-off tail closing the bottom. Usually I use my arms, but they're not quite as long as this one. So I'm going to start by threading that on. And then we're just going to pin, so it's easy for you to see. So again, find your arms where they're attached. Come up till you find your center hole. So I'm going to use this as my center hole right here. Then take another color, and you're going to skip the hole beside that pin, and you're going to go into the next hole. Do the same thing on the other side. So you have your center hole, the green pin, skip the next hole, and put your other pin in that next hole. It's going to look like this. Now you're going to take your darning needle and your yarn, and you're going to go in that center green pin, and you're going to come up that hole you skipped. Leave a little bit of yarn here for pulling and tying. Then you're going to go in where your second pin is, so red for me, and you're going to come up on the outside bottom of the eye. So like this. Get rid of that red one. You're going to come around the stitch under the eye and go into the next stitch. And then you're going to come over and match that on the other side. So this way you'll be on the inside bottom of the eye. Then you're going to go around one stitch and come in the outside bottom of the eye and out where your outside red pin is, or whatever color you chose if you pinned it. Okay, I'm going to take that pin out now. And now you're going to go in that stitch you skipped, and you're going to come out in that green pin, center pin where you started. So both your ends are coming out of the same hole now. So you went over, up, over, down, over. And now we're going to tie this nice and light. And we're going to pull these ends, but at the same time we're going to kind of squish these together and down. I think I need to change my angle here a bit. All right. So pull, squish, and push, and I kind of lift my eyes a bit. Be careful if you're worried about your backs coming through or your eye popping off. It's never happened to me, but I feel like it's possible. So just keep pulling till it's kind of the shape you want, and remember again, it will relax a little bit. So I kind of over pull to start, and then you're just going to tie that a few times to secure it. Then re-thread on your ends and put them in the body somewhere. So back in that same hole, and I'm just going out the back. Give those a cut. Now we'll do the little eye accent, so grab some white or whatever color you want to use. And we're going to be going in the same row that our eye posts went in, so that'll be between rows 8 and 9. If you're worried about it slipping underneath, grab a little piece of a stitch before you go down. You're going to go across to the other side in the same row. So again, I'm just going to grab a little piece of that stitch there. Sometimes it's tricky to catch it because it's going the wrong direction. There we go. Pull about half your yarn through. So I got quite a bit on each side here. Then you can come down to the inside corner, and of course you can do that any way you want. If you do the side, I do about 2 or 3 rows. You can do the top, outside corners, whatever you prefer. I seem to like to go down under lately. So now I'm just going to go into that inside corner and then out through the center somewhere of his head for tying. Make sure you're in a hole so that you can pull your yarn knot through. Just pull that loosely for now, and then you're going to thread on your other end. Do the exact same thing. You're going to go to that inside corner of the eye and then up in the same hole that your other end came through. Loosely pull that. And now you're just going to kind of pull on them till they're sitting where you want them. So you want them tight enough that they're not going to flip over top of your eye, but you also don't want them so tight that they go underneath your eye. So something like that, and then you're going to lightly tie. If you need to adjust them, this is the last time you can do it. If you do make a mistake, you can always cut it and pull it through. So tie it a couple of times. Rethread those ends on. And then we're just going to come back out in that same hole and out the back of the head. If you hold on to the thread with your thumb like I am here, then it won't pull you can pull this as hard as you want and it won't pull this anymore. And then you'll just lightly pull that through, drill the knots through. And if you have a hole and you can see that knot, just kind of squish your stitches around with your darning needle and it will disappear. Give that a cut. Don't pull too hard. If you happen to have an end showing, you can just put your needle in, a few stitches over, and then just swipe that down and it'll disappear. Alright, now we're going to do the little mouth. So grab a little scrap of black if you have it, or whatever color you're using. Thread that on. Our mouth's going to go in about 4 rows down from where we did the eyes post. So our eyes went into this row. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're going to go, it's going to go right here. So I'm just going to mark it with my fingernail. Go a couple rows down because that's where we're going to tie. And then just right into the row that you've marked. So this is the row. And I'm just kind of the middle, maybe a touch to the outside center of the eye. You, of course, can make yours any length you want. And then come to the other side and match the same. So I'm just kind of in the middle, little closer to the outside. That might pull over. So I'm going to go over one more hole. Because when I pull it tight, I don't want it to be uneven. And then you're just going to come out the same hole that you tied. Or sorry, that you went in, so you can tie. Make sure you're still in that same row, and then we're just going to stick it in the row, the dent of the row, and then we're going to tighten that a little bit. And then that way it should stay there. And your mouth will actually be a little smaller than you planned on. So it's sitting right in that row, nice and tight. When you're happy with it, you're going to tie that nice and tight and then put it to the inside. Oh, only one this time. And then into the back or somewhere. Oops, make sure I'm in the right hole. Okay. Pull it through. Give it a cut. And again, if you end up with a little piece hanging out, just swoop it away. Looks like I pulled that a little bit too, so I'm just going to use my darning needle to shape that how I want it. Alright, now we're going to do the little antennas, and what we're going to need is about 3 lengths, about a foot, 30 centimeters long. And I'm just going to fold my yarn over 3 times on itself, so they're all the same length. Give the ends a cut. And we're going to thread on the first one. And we're going to go about 2 rows down, so your main loop is 1, 2, so we're going to go in between rows 2 and 3, kind of just even or in front of the front of that loop. So something like this. And then you want to make sure you have about the same amount on both sides. And you're going to thread on your other 2 strings. And you're going to go down 1 row. So my stitches don't match up, so you're either going to go back or forward, or however you do it. Make sure you do the same thing on both sides. So I'm a little forward, so I want to come a little forward on this one if I can. I'm kind of right even with it on this side. So you're just going 1 row down, and you want to make sure those are the same on both sides about. One's a little longer than the other. Sorry. This one's really short. There we go. So all 3 are about the same length. And whatever side you're not doing, you're going to wrap that around your needle 1 or 2 times and then just stiff it down in a hole. And that will hold it nice and tight so it doesn't come through. Now I got to pin mine down, so I will meet you right back in a second. And all you're going to do is braid these ends. You're going to take the outside to the inside, outside to the inside, outside to the inside, and you're just alternating sides. And you're going to braid them about 2 or 3 times longer than you want your antenna to be. So mine's probably getting close here to 3 inches. That's more than enough. I'm going to use my 2 fingers as my guide. I'm going to say that's about 1 inch, but it's probably a little more than 1 inch. Tie a knot, making sure I don't let that braid come undone. Then I'm just going to slide that knot till it's as high as my 2nd finger. Then I'm going to cut that knot just a little bit above so that it won't come undone. And then we're just going to do the same thing to the other side now. You might have to give that a pull if it's not in there tight, and I got to pin that down. I'll be right back. And then we're just going to braid this side. So same thing, outside to the inside, outside to the inside, going over top. You can just use one strand too if you don't know how to braid. So you're going to go till it's just about the same length as you went on the other one. Tie your knot. Use your 2 fingers as your guide and slide that knot up so it's about 2 fingers long. Just have a look too if you need to. That'll work. Give that a cut just above the knot a little bit. And there you go. There's your little antennas. Now I'll just quickly show you how I did these little antennas for the plush version. Now we're going to start by making a chain, and you can make your chain any way you want, but leave yourself a bit of a tail. I always make my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, and then you are going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we are going to do a bobble stitch of 3. So in the second chain from the hook, yarn over into that second chain, grab your yarn, pull up, that's 1, yarn over into that second chain, grab your yarn and pull up, that's 2, yarn over into that second chain, grab your yarn and pull up. So that's 3 times. You can do more if you want. And then you're going to grab your yarn and you're going to go through all the loops on your hook. And now you're going to do 5 slip stitches down, starting in the next stitch. So 1, and I give that one a bit of a pull to kind of make that bump up better. 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're just going to tie off. Again, leave yourself a little bit of a tail to attach that. So it's going to look like this. And when I attached these ones, I went in between rows 1 and 2. So my first tail, I went kind of even with the middle into that stitch and straight out the back. And then I took my second tail, I went down 1 row, then I'm going to come out the same hole that I took the last yarn through, and then you're going to tie it here nice and tight, and then either bring them together and tie them like we did with the arms and everything, or you can just tie it right there and put it out the bottom of the head. Here we go. All right, now we're going to work on the wings. We're going to be making 2 of these. If you want to get ahead of yourself, you can make 4 of these little ones, and then you'll make 2 of the big ones, tie them off. But when you get to the 3rd and the 4th of the big one, we're going to use that same string to keep on going to join them up. So don't complete the 3rd and the 4th ones in the big one. And I'll remind you as we're going through along. So we're going to start with the small one. So you're going to make your magic ring or circle or however you prefer to do it. I will be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, chain 1. Remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, you're going to do 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on our 6th one we're going to change color, so you're going to go in, pull up, and leaving the 2 loops of your last single crochet on your hook. Where's my yarn? All right, so we'll tie that new color to your old color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And I'm not worrying about my ends because we're going to be making a front and a back. But if you want to keep it cleaner looking, just for your own personal taste, you can always go over your tails as we continue on here. So we're just going to grab that new color now, pull it through those 2 loops of your last single crochet to finish off that 6th stitch. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around. So increase, 1 and 2. Increase, 3 and 4. Increase, 5 and 6. Increase, 7 and 8. Increase, 9 and 10. And our last increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, tie off, leave yourself a little bit of a tail just in case you want to weave that in. But again, double-sided, you don't really have to worry about it. Alright, so now you can go and make 4 of these if you want to. I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and make the rest. And if you've made all 4, keep on watching and we'll move on to the next part. Alright, now we're going to make the bigger one, and remember, you're only going to make 2 and tie off, and then when we get to the 3rd one, we'll continue on to join the small and the large together. Alright, so again, you're going to make your little magic ring or circle or however you prefer. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up and chain 1, and remember that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. For row 1, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. Increase 1 and 2. Increase 3 and 4. Increase 5 and 6. Increase 7 and 8. Increase 9 and 10. Increase 11. Then we're going to change color. So on our second single crochet, we're going to go in, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook. Grab your new color. We're going to tie that to our old color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. Cut the gray. We're done with that for now. Then grab your new color, pull that color through those 2 loops on your hook to finish that last stitch of your 12th single crochet. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. All right, now if you are on your first one or your second one, you're going to slip stitch into this next stitch and tie off just like you did on the 4 small ones. And if you are on your third one or your fourth one, we're not going to cut this string. We're going to join these 2 in the next section. So before we go there, I'll be putting a timestamp so you can go back and do your first 3. And if you're finished your 3rd one, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. Okay, if you've gotten here for the first time, you should have 4 of the small ones made and tied off, 2 of the large ones made and tied off, and you're working on your 3rd or your 4th one right now. And we are going to begin by going into the next stitch, and we're going to do 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you're going to take one of your small circles. You're going to go into the stitch that you slip stitched in. So there's your slip stitch right there. You're going to go just into that hole just underneath of it. And you are going to do 6 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it should look like this. You've got a big one and a small one. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn. So now you're looking on the back side of both of your circles. Now starting in your first stitch, so it'll be this one right here. This is your chain. This hole is your first stitch. You are going to do 1 decrease. Then you're going to do 10 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you're going to do 1 decrease. So it's going to look like this now. Don't worry, it's going to look funny. Just trust in the process here. Mine looks funny too. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn. So now you're looking at the front side. I guess we can take that out too. Row 3, you're going to do 1 decrease. You're starting in this stitch right here. Then you are going to do 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you're going to do 1 decrease on this end. Chain 1 and turn. Row 4, you're going to do 1 decrease. Then you're going to do 6 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a decrease on the end. Make sure when you're doing the end decrease that you're getting through both sides of that stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Row 5, you're going to do 1 decrease. Then you're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a decrease on the end. Chain 1 and turn. Row 6, you're going to do 1 decrease. Then you're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, and then a decrease on the end. Chain 1 and turn. Row 7, you're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn. Row 8, 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn. Row 9, 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn. Row 10, 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn. Row 11, 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn. Row 12, 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn. Row 13, 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn. Row 14, 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn. Row 15, we are going to do an increase. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and then an increase on the end. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Oops. Chain 1 and turn. Row 16, increase. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Then you're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 increase on the end. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Row 17, increase. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Then you're going to do 6 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then an increase on the end. 1 and 2 in the same stitch, chain 1 and turn. Row 18, increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Then you're going to do 8 single crochets across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then an increase on the end. 1 and 2 in the same stitch, chain 1 and turn. Row 19, increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, 10 single crochets across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then an increase on the end. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Okay, now you're going to take one of your small circles. Make sure it's a small one. If you're not sure, you can always double check on the one you already have made. It'll be 3 rows. And you also got to make sure that you have the front side facing the front side. So this is the back, this is the front here, this is the front here. You want both the fronts matching, because when we flip it, we're on the back side now, and when we flip it the other way, we want all the fronts on the same side. Alright, so now you're going to go into your next stitch on the piece you were making, and then you want to go into the slip stitch of the small circle, and we're going to do 6 single crochets across, going through both sides of your work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry if this is hard to see here. So my last one, I'm making sure I'm in all 6. So that's 6. And now you're going to take one of your large ones that you had tied off. Again, make sure that the fronts are facing each other. And you're going to find that slip knot on your large one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 rows on your large one. Go into that slip stitch hole. And now you're going to do 8 single crochets. Whoops, sorry. Go into your working side first, and then the slip stitch of your circle. And you're going to do 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this will be your 8th and final one. And then you can just slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch just into the next side of my circle. And we'll tie that off. Then you should have a piece that looks like this Make sure you have the 2 small ones on the bottom, the 2 larger ones up on top. And now you're going to go back and do your 4th large circle. I'll put a screenshot with a timestamp in the next frame for you, so you can make your 2nd one. And then when you have both of these done, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, this next part we are going to join these 2 together. But before we do that, I just want to give you a couple of suggestions. So, first one I did, I decided to do the same matching color as the body around, because most butterflies have a darker kind of edge. The second time when I made the big one, I actually preferred having the same color. I was going to take the first one apart and redo it without the black around, and then I decided that's how I started, that's how I'm going to finish. So you could either continue in this blue, I do not know what it'll look like, or you can get your accent color and grab that. That's what I'll be doing. Okay, so make sure that you have the 2 bottoms on the bottom matching and 2 larger ones on the top matching. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of line up these bumps from my rows of 4 single crochets. I don't know how good you can see that, but like if you see how it's a bump here. So I'm going to line these bumps up with this side bumps. Then I'm just going to stick my hook in where I think I have it. So somewhere in the middle, it doesn't have to be exact, as long as your stitches and your wings line up together. We're just going to do a row of single crochets all the way around. So grab whatever color yarn you're using to join your 2 sets of wings, and you're just going to leave a little bit of a tail in case you need it for sewing it on. I actually haven't sewn these on yet. They're just pinned on, so we'll be doing that together. So I'm just making my knot with the loop on the end. You can do a slip knot or however you attach your yarn. Insert your hook. Insert your hook. This might be a bit messy, oh my goodness, to show, so I apologize in advance if my hands are in the way or it's just a mess to watch. So I'm just going to do a chain or a slip stitch, and all we're going to do is go in every row all the way around, matching our stitches as best as we can. And I'm going to start by going in the same stitch I slip stitched in, or chained, whatever you want to call that. And we're just going to go single crochet all the way around, whatever you think looks best to you. As you get to these strings, you can either tuck them in or go over top. While we're going around here, I haven't reminded you in a long time, but if you're new to my channel or you haven't watched one where I mentioned this yet, I do have a Facebook craft page. The link is the first thing down in the description. You have to click more twice, I think, to see it. And come on over to my craft page. You don't have to join or anything. And you can leave me a photo of what you've made, or if you've made something and you've switched it up a little bit and you want to show me what you've done with one of my patterns. I'd love to see it. You guys get so creative, think of things I never even thought of, but wish I did. You can just leave a comment, a few people a message if you have a question. I try and get to every comment, but I am really bad, especially in the summer, because I'm outside busy in the dirt doing something. But I do get to everyone eventually. I do also have TikTok and Instagram, but I'm very bad at it. I don't even know how to figure out how to do messages and stuff. But if you do send me a friend request, when I do go on there, I will accept every, or follow, whatever it's called, every request and follow you back. I just might not communicate with you on there. Odds are very low. Alright, we're getting down into the first corner here. And I still try and get in every stitch. It's a little tricky. Once I get around this corner, I might fast forward. And you guys can just do at your own speed. So I'm just tucking all my tail ends in. This is going to kind of be your best guess. I try and go in every stitch. So I just went in the very corner, so I want to make sure I go in this very corner. My tails are not cooperating. So I guess that's where it would be handy to sew them in or weave them in. I might have to come back and my darning needle and just poke them in a bit. Okay, we're getting to the end here now. Just kind of make sure your bumps are still lining up, and mine still look okay. Sorry, it's a little bit squeaky, but I'm almost done, so I'm just going to fight through it. And then we're in our last stitch. And then we're just going to join to our first stitch where we started. Oh, sorry about that. And tie off. Now you're going to leave yourself a long tail because I do not know how much yarn we're going to need here. So it should look like this. This is my back side. And now we gotta sew it on. So what I want to make sure first of all is that when he's sitting, his wings are kind of just resting on the bottom of the counter. So they're going to be at least that high. If your guy happens to not want to sit up well, you can sew these on to make it so that these are kind of a stand for the back so he doesn't tip over. So somewhere around there, I'm just going to hold it really good here. I'm going to wrap it around maybe so it doesn't move too much. And then we're going to pin the heck out of it. So I'll start by pinning it kind of at the head. I'm taking all my pins and I'm going to go in, kind of go up and then push my pin up and go down, and that will hold it the best. But we're going to put lots of pins in here so that it doesn't move on us. So I think I'm going to sew it about to the back of the arms. So where the arms kind of start, I'm going to sew to about there. So I think maybe one more pin. And if I don't know, well, I just didn't space them right. So something like that. Because we don't want them to swing back. Or maybe you do, but you won't see them as good. So just kind of line this up so it's the same. And then we'll put pins on this side as well. I'm just going in every second stitch. And see where maybe about there, I guess. Yeah, that looks about right. Just kind of make sure it's even. Have another double check how we'll sit. I think that's good enough. He could be a little higher maybe. Move this one up a little bit and repin it. He does lean a bit forward. Always look at this side to see that they're matching up with the eyes. Alright, double check it again. You don't want to have to be re-sewing it on. That would not be good. Alright, so I think I'm happy with that. So I'm going to pin it on the bottom now too. Actually, I'm going to put a couple more in here. I never have too many pins, I say. So now I'm going to pin the bottom. So I'm going into the body. A couple of pins. So everywhere I pinned, I'm going to be sewing. Double check again that he sits. Okay. Okay. So let's thread our one. This is the long tail we left at the end. So what I want to do is I'm going to sew up this way. I'm going to figure out what we're going to do about going down here with the wrong color. If you've used the same color, that's a bonus for you. We'll come up here. Wherever we did here, we'll go up here and then back down and tie it off. So I'm just going to go into the head. Then I'm going to come up my first single crochet stitch. Then I'm going to go into the next stitch, grab a piece of the head, and then come up into the next single crochet in my wing. Try not to catch the stuffing if you can help it. Go into the next stitch, catch a bit of the head, and come up. Can't tell if that's a wing or a head. Come up into the next single crochet. Go down, and however it works out for you on your last pin, go around the head. And I think what I might do, I'm just going to go back up the next stitch and then into the head. That should be pretty secure. You can either stitch around here or you can go straight to this pin, I think is what we're going to do. But we're going to do it. Actually, let's do this. Let's tie it so that is secure. Oops, I shouldn't have went in there. Okay, so See, this is the learning process here. So I'm going to tie a little knot right here. So this is not going to move. So right close to the wing, we'll tie a knot. And then I'm going to go into the head, around the neck, and I'm going to come out where that first pin is down there. And I'm going to start sewing on the bottom, but I'll tie a knot there too, just so that string on the inside doesn't pull and scrunch up his body. So I'm going to tie a knot right there. Just grabbing a stitch of his body. And then I'm going to start sewing the bottom half of the wing. Just a quick double check that it's still straight. And then like we did on the top. I've got some stuffing in there, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. Go down the next stitch and up into the next stitch. Down the next stitch, catching the body, coming up into the next stitch of the wing. This feels like a workout. Down the next stitch, catching the body. Oh, I didn't catch the body. I don't know if I'm catching the body in this one. Might have to do a in and out twice. Just to be sure you're catching that. I've got some stuffing there and it's just not happening. Down the next stitch and up the next single crochet, catching the body as I go. I think it's because I'm kind of in the neck here, so it's hard to catch the body. So make sure you're going through both the wing and the body all the time. Down, I'm in my last pin. I'm just going to come around here. So just opposite of we did on the other side, I'm going to tie a knot into the body to hold that wing there. Now, I think I need to mark this just in case that comes out. So that's where my pin is in, right there. As I'm twisting this quite a bit. So now we're going to go into the body, around the neck, and come out where our first stitch at the top of the wing is going to be. You know, I made these little bodies thinking it would be quick compared to the rest of the things I make. And it turns out I make all these wings for them, and I just made more. I think they're twice as long. It takes longer to do the wing than it does to do the body. So that was a bit of a fail, I guess. So now I'm going to go around twice here and tie a knot before I stitch around the wing. And just up and down, catching the head now, and then going to the next stitch of the wing. There may be a better way to sew this on. If you figure it out, go ahead and do it your way, because this is not feeling very easy. I got to go in the head and come out here. for this one because it doesn't want to catch. Last couple stitches. I think I started right there, looks like, so I'm just going to come up and out. And I think what I'm going to do, since I saved that, I'm just going to tie my beginning tail and my end tail together, and we'll put them on the inside. So make sure they're nice and tight. Well, I hope you enjoyed making this butterfly. It's not quick and easy, I can tell you. But it is cute. Okay, I'm just going to hide this out the butt somewhere. Give them a cut. Let's see how'd he turn out. Looks okay to me. I like him. Whoop, you can't even see him. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't know what. Antenna, wings, eyes, arms, legs. There we go, our two little butterflies. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does it help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting!